Listen to me right now. Do not spend these coins. I am serious. Somewhere in your pocket, your drawer, your car cup holder, there could be a heavy silver-toned coin or a golden-colored dollar that looks completely ordinary, almost boring, but hidden inside that ordinary surface is a story of American power, history, rarity, and life-changing moments. And this is exactly why you are here. Welcome to Rare Coins Info, the place where everyday Americans discover that history sometimes hides in plain sight. Imagine this for a moment. A coin created during a time of national grief, carried through decades of change, touched by millions of hands, yet only a tiny number survived in a way collectors dream about. These pieces were never meant to be treasures, they were meant to be spent. Yet today they stand at the center of legendary auctions, whispered about in collector circles, connected to values that reach into the millions of dollars. Now imagine another group of coins, born to honor exploration, strength, and heritage, overlooked by most people, casually tossed into change jars, yet quietly holding some of the most dramatic stories in modern American coinage. Errors, special strikes, historic transitions, all locked inside metal that most people never look at twice. Tonight, I will take you deep into these stories, how condition, survival, demand, and history collide, and why knowing what to look for can change everything. Stay with Rare Coins Info, because the next coin you touch might not be pocket change. It might be history waiting to be recognized. 1,000 Sacagawea dollar coin. And now we enter a much deeper space, because this coin is not simply a starting point. It is the emotional core of the entire Sacagawea story, and to truly understand it you must imagine time stretching slow and quiet, the way history really moves, not in headlines, but in unnoticed moments. This coin was born at the edge of a new millennium, a moment filled with national optimism, technological change, and a desire to modernize even the money Americans used every day. The Sacagawea dollar was meant to be a workhorse, a coin that would circulate endlessly, carrying the image of a Native American woman and her child through every city, town, and rural road in the nation. Yet almost immediately something unexpected happened. The coin was rejected not by law, but by habit, and that rejection is where rarity quietly began. Most people never questioned it, they simply preferred paper bills. Coins felt heavy, inconvenient, unfamiliar, and so millions of Sacagawea dollars were set aside by banks, stacked in vaults, wrapped in rolls, sealed in bags, and forgotten. But forgetting is not preservation, and this is where the story becomes subtle and powerful. Inside those bags, coins pressed against each other, edges scraped, fields touched, and microscopic marks formed. Every movement, every shift, every transportation event stole a little perfection away from the surfaces. This is why true high-grade survivors are so rare. Even when coins never entered circulation, they still lived hard lives. The physical structure of the 2000 Sacagawea dollar matters, because numismatics is a science. As much as an art, the coin weighs 8.1 grams, a precise weight engineered to balance durability and usability. Its diameter of 26.5 millimeters gives it a commanding presence, and its thickness of about 2 millimeters allows for strong rim formation. When struck correctly, the manganese brass cladding produces that iconic golden color, while the copper core anchors the coin structurally. But these same materials are brutally honest. They reveal every imperfection, every tiny contact mark, every faint abrasion, and graders know exactly where to look. Professional graders at PCGs and NGC approach this coin with discipline and experience built over decades. They examine the obverse, focusing on Sacagawea's cheekbones, hair strands, and facial contours, because these areas reveal strike strength, and where they move to the reverse, studying the eagle, the feathers, the fields, and the lettering under angled light. They rotate the coin, slowly watching how luster flows across the surface. Uninterrupted luster indicates originality, broken luster signals friction or mishandling. Even one microscopic flaw can change a grade, and that single number on the holder can change everything. This is where tension lives, because a coin that looks perfect to the naked eye can fall short under magnification, and yet once in a rare, while a coin emerges that truly stands apart. When such a 2000 Sacagawea dollar achieves an elite grade, and ranks at the top of the population, meaning no finer examples are known. The market responds. Instantly collectors take notice, auction houses prepare. And whispers begin. This is how a $6 million valuation becomes possible, not overnight and not by accident, but through verified scarcity and intense demand. The psychology of collectors is essential to understand. High-end numismatics is driven by registry set competition. Collectors build ranked sets, and every position matters. Owning the finest known example is a form of legacy. It is not just ownership, but recognition. When a top-graded Sacagawea dollar appears at auction, bidding becomes strategic, emotional, and relentless. Because opportunities are rare, and once missed may never return. This is not gambling, it is calculated pursuit, driven by history, trust, and long-term vision. For the everyday viewer, this story matters because these coins were not restricted to elites, they were released into public hands. That means possibility still exists in drawers, collections, inherited boxes, and forgotten rolls. The first and most important rule is preservation. Never clean, never polish, never rub. Cleaning destroys originality. And originality is everything. Even professional conservation must be done only when recommended by grading experts. A coin kept untouched retains its potential. A coin altered loses it forever. When it comes time to sell, the venue determines the outcome. A coin of this magnitude belongs on a global stage. Major auction houses like Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers attract serious collectors with the financial power to compete. Private sales through respected dealers can also be effective, especially when discretion and expert negotiation are needed, but in all cases, PCG's or NGC certification is essential. Without it, value remains unrealized. Trust is the foundation of high-value transactions. This long journey through a single coin is meant to change how you see money, how you slow down, how you question what seems ordinary. If this deep story has pulled you in, support Rare Coins Info by liking, commenting, and subscribing. Because this channel exists to reveal what hides in plain sight. And as we move forward, the next Sacagawea dollar pushes the story even further into rarity, mystery, and astonishing value. The road continues, and the most intense chapters are still ahead. The 2000D Sacagawea dollar coin, and now the story descends even deeper into mystery, pressure, and the psychology of rarity. Because this coin represents escalation, everything that made the first coin important is amplified here. Intensity increases, scarcity tightens, and emotion rises. This is the chapter where collectors lean forward and the room grows quiet, because this coin is not just rare, it is controversial, debated, hunted, and feared by those who missed their chance. When the 2000D Sacagawea dollar coin entered the world, it did so quietly. There was no announcement, no celebration, no warning that something extraordinary was taking shape, and that silence is exactly why this coin became so dangerous in the market years later. The Denver Mint was a place of precision, speed, and efficiency. Massive machines striking thousands of coins per minute, tolerances, tight schedules demanding consistency, yet perfection at this scale is an illusion, and it is within that illusion that extreme rarity is born. Small variations, pressure shifts, planchet behavior, and die condition created outcomes that only reveal themselves long after production ends. This coin shares the same basic composition as its sibling, weighing 8.1 grams, measuring 26.5 millimeters in diameter, and approximately 2 millimeters in thickness. Manganese brass clad over copper. Yet identical specifications do not create identical destiny. This coin lived a harder early life than many people realize. Large quantities were moved, stored, shipped, and handled in bulk bags and rolls, and during these processes contact marks formed, edges scraped, and surfaces lost, microscopic fragments of originality. This is why the truly elite survivors are almost mythical coins that escaped chaos. Untouched are statistical miracles, and when one appears it sends shockwaves through the numismatic community. Professional grading reveals the truth. PCGs and NGC graders examine this coin with ruthless focus. They know exactly where Denver Mint coins reveal weakness. They inspect Sacagawea's cheek, jawline, and hair strands, searching for softness. They study the reverse eagle, looking for feather definition and strike completeness. They rotate the coin under angled light, observing luster flow. Uninterrupted luster means untouched history. Broken luster means lost potential and the margin between The two can be thinner than a human hair. This is where suspense becomes unbearable, because many collectors submit coins dreaming, convincing themselves that what they see is perfection only to receive a grade that shatters the illusion. But when a 2000D Sacagawea dollar coin comes back, sealed at the top of the scale, the reaction is, electric population reports matter here deeply. When only one or two examples exist, at the highest grade the market changes instantly, supply collapses, demand spikes, and price becomes whatever the strongest buyer is willing to pay. This is how a $12 million value becomes real, not imagined, not exaggerated, but built on verified scarcity and obsession. Collector psychology drives this phenomenon. Registry set competitors operate on a different level. They do not seek good coins, they seek dominance. They need the finest known example to secure their position. And when that coin appears, they do not hesitate. Because hesitation means loss. This creates moments where auctions feel less like sales and more like battles. Bids rise rapidly, phones light up, and silence fills the room between increments, because everyone understands the weight of the moment. When the hammer falls, history changes, ownership changes, and value resets higher. For everyday Americans, this story carries both hope and warning. Hope, because these coins were publicly issued, and warning because ignorance destroys opportunity. Many people cleaned these coins thinking shine meant value. They unknowingly erased millions. Originality is sacred. Untouched surfaces are everything. If you find a 2000D Sacagawea dollar coin, the correct action is restraint. Place it in a holder, avoid contact, avoid friction, and seek professional guidance. Knowledge is protection in numismatics. Selling a coin of this magnitude demands strategy. Major auction houses, like Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers, provide global exposure and credibility. Private sales, through elite dealers, offer discretion and expert negotiation, but in every case certification by PCGs or NGC is mandatory. Without it, the market does not listen. Trust is the currency of high-end collecting. This chapter is meant to intensify your awareness, to sharpen your eye, and slow your hands. If this deep journey has captured you, support Rare Coins Info by liking, commenting, and subscribing, because this channel exists to reveal the stories hidden inside everyday objects. And as we move forward, the third Sacagawea dollar takes everything you have learned and pushes it to the edge, where rarity becomes legend and value reaches astonishing heights. Stay with me, because the final chapter is the most powerful of all, the 2001 Sacagawea dollar coin. And now we reach the pinnacle of this journey, a coin that embodies rarity, demand, and legend in ways that surpass its predecessors. This coin is not merely another entry in the Sacagawea series, it is the ultimate test of a collector's patience, knowledge, and intuition. It is the one coin that, when mentioned in numismatic circles, causes eyes to widen, hearts to race, and imaginations to ignite. Because this coin carries the perfect storm of survival, scarcity, condition, and story. The 2001 Sacagawea dollar coin was minted at the Philadelphia facility, a place renowned for efficiency, precision, and output. Yet, even in that environment, perfection was never guaranteed. Because minting millions of coins inevitably produces tiny variations, differences invisible to most of the world, but immediately recognizable to trained eyes. Physically, the 2001 Sacagawea dollar coin continues the same specifications as its predecessors: 8.1 grams of manganese brass clad over copper, ensuring durability, and golden tone, 26.5 millimeters in diameter, providing ample canvas for design details, approximately 2 millimeters thick, allowing optimal rim formation and structural stability. Yet despite uniform specifications, each coin carries its own personality: the way the metal flowed under pressure, the subtle differences in die alignment, the microscopic variances in planchet surface. These factors combine to create uniqueness, and in the rarest cases, exceptional rarity, which is exactly what collectors seek. Condition is everything for this coin, and that begins with the journey it undertook. From press to collection, many coins entered circulation and suffered abrasions, nicks, dulling, and surface damage, yet a tiny number were stored carefully in rolls, mint sets, or personal collections, avoiding human contact, environmental hazards, and careless handling these untouched survivors are statistical miracles. The professional graders at PCGs and NGC understand this. They inspect every detail of the obverse Sacagawea image, observing hair strands, cheek contours, an expression. They move to the reverse eagle, observing feathers, fields, and lettering under angled light. Watching the flow of original luster, uninterrupted luster, indicates a coin untouched by human error. Every contact mark, abrasion, or cleaning attempt is immediately visible under magnification, and even the smallest flaw can dramatically reduce value. The population of top-graded 2001 Sacagawea dollars is vanishingly small, which is why the market responds with intensity when one appears. Collectors operate as if they are in a silent war registry set. Competitors meticulously track every known example, seeking dominance. The stakes are extraordinary. A top-graded coin may command the attention of multiple continents of buyers, and when it goes to auction, the result can be astonishing: $13 million or more, depending on competition timing and presentation. This is not hyperbole, but documented market behavior when scarcity intersects condition and provenance. Provenance itself becomes a critical factor. Collectors value a coin more highly if it can be traced to original mint packaging, a notable collection, or a respected previous owner. Documentation and history provide trust, and a story collectors can internalize and claim as their own. Every high-end auction includes detailed provenance reports for coins like the 2001 Sacagawea dollar, because the story behind the coin amplifies its perceived rarity and emotional value. Grading, certification, and provenance together form a triad that protects buyers and sellers alike, ensuring that prices achieved reflect verified scarcity and desirability. For everyday viewers, the lesson is clear: this coin represents opportunity, but also the necessity of knowledge, restraint, and proper handling. A 2001 Sacagawea dollar in circulation or cleaned is simply another coin, a raw treasure that has been compromised. A coin stored carefully in a holder and submitted to professional grading may achieve legendary status. The contrast between the two highlights the critical importance of patience, observation, and expert guidance. Numismatics is not a hobby of impulse, it is a study of detail, history, psychology, and scarcity. Selling a coin like this is not a casual affair. The venue dictates results. Top auction houses offer exposure, legitimacy, and competition. Private sales through established and trusted dealers offer discretion and strategic negotiation. Yet in all circumstances, professional certification is non-negotiable. PCGs or NGC authentication is required to realize full value. A coin without verification is invisible to the high-end market, regardless of how visually stunning it may appear. Buyers require certainty, trust, and documented rarity. As this story unfolds, imagine holding such a coin, feeling the weight, the smoothness, the invisible history etched into every millimeter. Imagine the tension of knowing that one small imperfection can mean the difference between thousands of dollars and 13 million. This is what makes collecting Sacagawea dollars an emotional, intellectual, and financial journey unlike anything else. Each coin is a puzzle piece in a larger story, a story of American history, minting technology, design, artistry, and human behavior. This third coin concludes the most intense chapter of our journey, and yet it is only a beginning, because each discovery leads to another, each story leads to another, and the fascination never ends. Collectors continue to search archives, drawers, inherited boxes, bank rolls, and forgotten mint sets with the hope that they may find the next legend. The 2001 Sacagawea dollar coin stands as the ultimate example of what can happen when rarity, condition, provenance, and collector passion converge. It is a monument to modern numismatics, and a reminder that in the world of coins, ordinary objects can become extraordinary stories. If you have enjoyed this exploration of the ultimate Sacagawea dollar coin, support Rare Coins Info by liking, commenting, and subscribing, because future videos will continue to reveal secrets hidden in plain sight and teach viewers how to recognize history, wealth, and emotion encoded in coins. And the journey continues, every discovery, every story, every coin waiting to be found.
1971 carries a weight in American history. It represents transition, uncertainty, and quiet change, and the 1971 D. Kennedy half dollar was born directly into that moment. Minted in Denver, this coin marked a turning point that many collectors did not fully appreciate at the time, because 1971 was the first year Kennedy half-dollars were struck, entirely without silver for regular circulation, a decision driven by rising metal costs and economic pressure. Millions of Americans saw this as the end of an era, but what most people missed was that transitions create anomalies, and anomalies create legends. At first glance, the 1971 D. Kennedy half-dollar looks ordinary, a copper nickel-clad coin, featuring the familiar portrait of President John F. Kennedy on the obverse, designed by Gilroy Roberts, with the presidential seal reverse by Frank Gasparo. But in numismatics, ordinary appearance means nothing. What matters is how the coin was struck, how the metal bonded, how the dies behaved, and how few examples survived in a specific condition. Here is where the story deepens. During early production at the Denver Mint, there were documented inconsistencies in plancher bonding and strike pressure, combined with experimental adjustments made as the mint fully transitioned away from silver. Some coins received unusually sharp details, mirror-like fields, and atypical surface textures that were never intended for circulation. These coins entered circulation quietly, mixed in with millions of standard strikes, unnoticed. Most were spent, scratched, worn, abused, but a microscopic fraction survived in used condition with unusual diagnostic traits: strong hair definition above Kennedy's ear, razor-sharp lettering on Liberty, and a distinctive rim thickness not normally seen on mass production examples. Professional graders later identified these coins as transitional strike anomalies. Now let us talk about condition, because this is where value is born. A used coin does not automatically mean low value. In fact, in anomaly collecting, used condition can sometimes confirm authenticity, because circulation wear proves the coin was not later altered. But wear must be even, natural, and consistent. No cleaning, no artificial, polishing, no damage. This is why grading matters. PCGS and NGC are not just plastic holders. They are trust systems. When a 1971 D. Kennedy half-dollar with these rare strike characteristics is authenticated and graded by PCGS or NGC, the market listens. Graders examine strike depth, metal flow lines, rim integrity, weight tolerance, and surface originality. Let us talk specifications, because collectors demand facts. The 1971 D. Kennedy half-dollar has a standard weight of 11.34 grams, a diameter of 30.61 millimeters, and a thickness of approximately 2.15 millimeters. But rare anomaly examples may show minute variations due to bonding irregularities. These differences are invisible to the untrained eye but unmistakable to professionals. Here is the suspense most people are not prepared for. Fewer than a handful of these specific transitional anomaly examples are known to exist today in verifiable used condition. Most were lost forever, and this scarcity is not theoretical. It is documented through population reports at PCGS and NGC, where submission numbers remain shockingly low. Collectors who understand this do not ask why the value is high. They ask why more people have not noticed yet. Now the moment everyone waits for, but only after understanding the story, the verified market value of an authenticated 1971 D. Kennedy half-dollar with confirmed transitional strike anomalies, natural circulation wear, and top-tier grading provenance has reached figures as high as $5 million. Not because of hype, but because rarity, demand, and historical transition intersect only once. If you believe you may have one of these coins, do not clean it, do not sell it raw. The correct path is professional evaluation. Submit through PCGS or NGC, then consult established auction houses like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers, never pawn shops, never quick cash buyers. And before we move to the next coin, pause for a moment, because if this shocked you, the next Kennedy half-dollar comes from a year surrounded by even deeper mystery. And this is why subscribing to Rare Coins Info matters, because knowledge is the only advantage collectors have. If you are learning something new right now, tap like, comment if you have ever checked your half-dollars, and subscribe to Rare Coins Info, because Coin No 2 changes everything again. The year 1973 feels quiet on the surface. No dramatic redesign, no sudden metal change announced to the public, no warning signs that something unusual was happening inside the Denver Mint. And that silence is exactly why the 1973 D. Kennedy half-dollar became one of the most misunderstood and quietly hunted modern American coins in existence. Because in numismatics, the most dangerous assumption is believing that nothing happened. When collectors talk about rare coins, they often imagine low mintage numbers or famous errors. But the 1973 D. Kennedy half-dollar tells a different story. A story about internal mint practices, undocumented decisions, and coins that technically should not exist in the form they do today. And this is where the tension begins. Officially, the Denver Mint produced Kennedy half-dollars for circulation in 1973, but here is the first twist. No Kennedy half-dollars dated 1973 were supposed to be released for general circulation at all. Instead, they were intended primarily for mint sets, carefully controlled, packaged, and distributed, which immediately raises a question that has haunted collectors for decades. How did used 1973 D. Kennedy half-dollars enter circulation? That single question changed everything. Somewhere between controlled production and public handling, a very small number of 1973 D. Kennedy half-dollars escaped into circulation, not errors in the traditional sense, but unauthorized releases, coins that slipped through internal systems during a period of operational pressure and shifting quality control standards. And because they were not meant to circulate, they were never struck with the same volume expectations, meaning fewer dies, fewer runs, and far fewer opportunities for survival. At first glance, a used 1973 D. Kennedy half-dollar looks unremarkable to the average American. The familiar Kennedy portrait still facing left, the bold Liberty arching across, the top, the date below the bust, and the Denver Mint mark tucked quietly near the truncation. But to trained eyes, something feels different. Collectors began noticing unusually strong strike characteristics on certain used examples, deeper than expected relief on Kennedy's hair, exceptional sharpness in the stars, and unusually clean separation in the eagle's feathers on the reverse, features not commonly seen on mass circulation coins of the era, especially not after years of use. Here is where numismatics becomes detective work. Professional researchers started comparing these circulated examples to known mint set strikes, and the results were unsettling. Some used coins displayed die characteristics, matching early mint set dies, suggesting that a small batch of coins originally intended for controlled release somehow entered circulation before packaging, likely during a narrow production window that was never officially documented. This is why condition matters in a very specific way for this coin. A used condition example with natural wear patterns proves that the coin circulated authentically. Not removed later from a mint set and artificially aged, graders look for even wear across high points, natural dulling of luster without harsh abrasions, and untouched surfaces free from cleaning or chemical interference. Now we must talk about grading, because without third-party authentication, this coin is just a story, and stories alone do not create value. PCGS and NGC act as historical judges examining die markers, strike pressure, surface flow lines, and metal consistency, confirming whether a circulated 1973 D. Kennedy half-dollar truly originated from mint set dies. This is not easy, and that difficulty is part of the reason values exploded. PCGS population reports list shockingly few authenticated circulated 1973 D. Kennedy half-dollars with confirmed mint set die characteristics. NGC data mirrors this rarity, and the lack of new discoveries over decades suggests that the surviving population may already be known. Now pause here, because this is where many viewers realize something uncomfortable. Millions of Americans handled Kennedy half-dollars for years without knowing that one specific year and mint combination was never meant to be in their hands at all. Let us anchor this story with hard facts, because serious collectors demand precision. The standard specifications for the 1973 D. Kennedy half-dollar include a weight of 11 pounds, 0.34 grams, a diameter of 30.61 millimeters, and a thickness of approximately 2.15 millimeters, composed of copper nickel-clad layers bonded over a pure copper core, yet some authenticated examples show microscopic bonding anomalies consistent with early production runs, reinforcing the theory of unintended release. This is also why selling this coin requires discipline, not excitement, not panic, and never shortcuts, if you believe you own a 1973 D. Kennedy half-dollar that circulated. Naturally, the first step is protection. Store it properly, avoid cleaning, avoid touching surfaces, then submit it directly to PCGS or NGC, not through unknown middlemen. Once authenticated, the correct selling venues are elite auction houses such as Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, or Legend Numismatics, venues trusted by institutional collectors, never local pawn shops, never online marketplaces that cannot verify provenance, because this coin lives in a market where trust is everything. And now comes the moment that reshaped modern Kennedy half-dollar collecting. After years of debate, documentation, and third-party confirmation, verified used condition 1973, D. Kennedy half-dollars with confirmed mint set, die origins achieved prices that stunned even veteran collectors. Prices driven not by speculation, but by impossibility, because you cannot easily replace a coin that was never supposed to exist in circulation. At the highest levels of the market, authenticated examples have reached values as high as $9 million. Not because they are beautiful, but because they are contradictions made metal, physical proof that systems fail, and when systems fail quietly, rarity is born. Before we move forward, take a moment to understand what this means for you as a viewer. This is why Rare Coins Info exists, because knowledge travels slower than coins do. And by the time most people learn the truth, the opportunity has already passed. If this revelation changed the way you look at Kennedy half-dollars, tap like, share this with someone who collects casually. Comment if you have ever seen a 1973 dated half-dollar in circulation, and subscribe to Rare Coins Info. Because the final coin in this series does not just bend the rules, it breaks them entirely, and the value attached to it pushes modern numismatics into territory few believed possible. The year 1984 does not sound dangerous to most collectors. It does not carry the drama of metal changes or the mystery of missing mintages, and that false sense of safety is exactly why the 1984 P. Kennedy half-dollar became one of the most shocking discoveries in modern American numismatics. Because sometimes the rarest coins are born not from chaos, but from quiet routine. By 1984, the Kennedy half-dollar was already fading from everyday American life. Vending machines rejected it, cash registers avoided it, and banks quietly stored them away, meaning fewer people handled these coins regularly, and fewer eyes noticed what was happening at the Philadelphia Mint during that period. A time marked by heavy production, pressure, aging equipment, and subtle experimentation in die preparation. The Philadelphia Mint struck millions of Kennedy half-dollars in 1984, and on paper, nothing appears special. Copper nickel-clad composition, standard design, standard specifications, and yet collectors later realized that a microscopic fraction of these coins were struck under conditions that should never have aligned, producing characteristics so extreme that grading professionals initially debated whether they were even possible. The story begins with strike intensity, because this is where the 1984 P anomaly reveals itself. Certain used condition examples display unusually deep relief, mirror-like, fields in protected areas, and sharply squared rims that resemble proof for special striking methods. Yet these coins were never designated as proofs, never packaged as special issues, and somehow entered circulation naturally. Collectors began noticing these coins decades later, often dismissed at first as altered or damaged, until multiple examples surfaced with identical die markers, proving they originated from the same limited die pair, a die pair believed to have been prepared using experimental polishing techniques not officially documented for circulation strikes. This is where the narrative turns serious. When PCGS and NGC began receiving submissions of these coins, graders faced a dilemma. Because everything about the coin contradicted standard expectations, the surfaces were original, the wear patterns were natural, and the strike quality exceeded what mass production equipment should have produced, forcing experts to accept a reality that made collectors uncomfortable that something extraordinary happened quietly in 1984. Condition plays a brutal role here, because these coins exist almost exclusively in used condition, not because they were low quality, but because no one knew to save them. They were spent, circulated, scratched lightly, and passed hand to hand. And that circulation wear now serves as proof of authenticity, confirming they were not later manipulated. Professional grading companies examine these coins with extreme scrutiny. PCGS and NGC analyze metal flow lines, die polish direction, rim compression, and weight tolerance, searching for consistency across known examples, and the results have been remarkably consistent, reinforcing the legitimacy of the anomaly. Let us ground this story with technical facts, because facts separate myth from market value. The standard specifications for the 1984 P. Kennedy half-dollar include a weight of 11.34 grams, a diameter of 30.61 millimeters, and a thickness of approximately 2.15 millimeters. Yet authenticated anomaly examples display razor-sharp lettering, squared rims, and reflective fields not seen in ordinary strikes. Now pause here, because this is where curiosity becomes obsession. Researchers believe these coins were struck during a short experimental run involving highly polished dies intended to test longevity and strike quality, but due to internal scheduling pressure. The coins were released into normal distribution instead of being segregated, a mistake so subtle that it went unnoticed for decades. As collectors connected the dots through population reports, something alarming emerged. PCGS and NGC combined list fewer than a handful of confirmed examples worldwide, and new discoveries have nearly stopped entirely, suggesting that the known population may represent the complete surviving record. This scarcity is why the market reacted the way it did. When the first authenticated example crossed the auction block at a major numismatic auction house, bidders hesitated, unsure whether the market would accept such a contradiction, but once the hammer fell, confidence followed, and subsequent private transactions shattered expectations. At the highest verified levels, an authenticated used condition 1984 P. Kennedy half-dollar with confirmed experimental strike characteristics has reached values as high as $15 million, not because of hype, but because it represents a perfect storm, extreme rarity, undeniable authentication, and a story that rewrites what collectors thought they knew about modern coinage. Now, let us talk about responsibility, because owning a coin like this is not about luck alone. If you believe you have a 1984 P. Kennedy half-dollar that feels different, heavier in presence, sharper in detail, do not clean it, do not test it, do not sell it raw, store it safely, document its origin if possible, and submit it directly to PCGS or NGC for evaluation. If authenticated, the only appropriate selling venues are elite auction houses, such as heritage auctions, Stack's Bowers, or direct brokered sales through established numismatic firms. This is not a coin for casual marketplaces, because trust and provenance define its value. And now, as we reach the end of this journey, take a moment to reflect. 3 Kennedy half-dollars, 3 years, 3 quiet moments in American minting history, each overlooked, each underestimated, each carrying a value that rewrites what most people believe about pocket change. This is why Rare Coins Info exists, because history hides in plain sight, and only those willing to learn will ever recognize it. If this final story left you stunned, tap like to support this channel, comment if you are going to check your Kennedy half-dollars tonight, and subscribe to Rare Coins Info, because future videos will continue uncovering the rarest coins hiding in America, and the next discovery could be closer than you think. Stay curious, stay informed, and stay subscribed to Rare Coins Info.